Hey everybody, welcome back. Last time we talked about how we can narrow down our values. We got ourselves to the point of having 10 categories of values and then naming each of those categories using either one of the values or we chose an evocative phrase to represent that category. Experts say that really we need to narrow it down to just a handful. And so we need to come down to about 5 values. So how do we go about narrowing down from 10 to 5? Well, one of the ways that we can do that is to imagine scenarios where we have a trade-off between values. And then we select the value between the two that is most important to us. One example might be we might face the trade-off of status and achievement in our career versus having less time with our family. And when we weigh everything together, we come down to a handful of 5 values that are really our core values. Our values are based on our beliefs, and so it's important that we spend some time examining our beliefs. If we might think of our values as ideals to which we aspire, that are really the things that matter most to us, then our beliefs are a set of impressions and assumptions that we have about ourselves, about other people, about the world in general, and these may or may not be based on evidence. Our beliefs come to us very early in our lives, and they can last an entire lifetime. There's a few sources from which we derive our beliefs. First of all, we can gain our beliefs through evidence. We have a belief in, for example, the laws of physics because we have a history of understanding the scientific method and seeing observational evidence. We also can gain beliefs through tradition. And that might be through our family or our society, our culture, all of the communities to which we belong. Another place that we learn our beliefs is from authority figures. The original authority figures, of course, are our parents or our older siblings. But then we go to school and we engage with teachers who impart on us a different set of beliefs. Aside from teachers, there's also community leaders and sports team leaders that share with us their beliefs. Another big place that we learn our beliefs is through our religious upbringing. Our religious upbringing gives us beliefs not only about the nature of the universe and the meaning of life, but what it means to live a good life, what happens to us after we die, and how to be a good person. Most of the sources of beliefs are external to us, and eventually we might rebel against that, and we might choose who we hang out with and adopt their beliefs. So we adopt beliefs by association from our peers and our colleagues. And finally, as we mature, we start to have an inner sense of knowing. The more experience we get, and we start to question our beliefs and adopt our own beliefs. For those of us who are more intuitive, it is more natural to start to believe our own inner knowing. When we put it all together, all of these sources of beliefs influence our values. And because most of them come from outside of ourselves, we will, over our lifetime, continue the process of rebelling a little bit and questioning our beliefs. Sometimes this happens when we have a crisis of some sort. For me, this happened when my mother passed away and I was just becoming a young woman. I had a real difficult time understanding what kind of God might allow a woman to die so young. And so for me, it was a crisis of faith. And that brought about a 10-year journey through basically all of the world's religions until I could finally discard some of my beliefs and become firmly rooted in some that were really foundational to my life and became the cornerstone of my purpose in life. Now, I'm not suggesting that as we question our beliefs and we start to determine what we believe for ourselves, that we necessarily have to question our religious upbringing. Some of us may not have had a religious upbringing, and we don't need to go out and find one necessarily. But that is how it happened for me. And oftentimes it can happen that when we face a life crisis, we are faced with a challenge to our beliefs. Whether or not we face a crisis, we can choose throughout our lives as we mature to enter into a more introspective quest to understand what it is we truly believe and what it is we value. As we start to think about our beliefs, there are really two types of beliefs that we hold. There are enabling beliefs and there are limiting beliefs. Enabling beliefs are optimistic in nature. They reflect a sense of self-efficacy and also a belief in the goodness of others and the world around us. These kinds of beliefs give us the ability to take measured risks in order to achieve our potential. On the other hand, limiting beliefs are pessimistic, and they have a negative outlook towards ourselves, towards others, and the world around us. They limit us from being able to achieve what it is we want and fulfill our potential. Some examples of enabling beliefs would be, I am worthy. People are good, kind, and generous. The world is full of wondrous places, and the future is an adventure that I'm looking forward to explore. Examples of limiting beliefs would be, I'm useless. People are out to get me. They're always out for themselves. And the world is a dangerous place. The future is bleak, and I'll never get ahead. I know which beliefs feel better and which beliefs I would rather have, but the truth is that to a greater or lesser extent, we probably all have adopted some limiting beliefs along the way. When we were young, they might have served to protect us. They had a function, but they've outlived their function. If you think about being a toddler and being taught the concept of stranger danger, well, that is a little bit difficult when we go to school or when we go to the workplace and we have to learn to convert strangers into friends and colleagues. So if we carry these beliefs with us, which many of us do for a lifetime, they can be very limiting indeed. If under our values we have a whole set of limiting beliefs, then we're going to have a really hard time finding a way to be fulfilled in this life. So, can we identify and change our beliefs? Well, the good news is that yes, we can. And there are lots of people out on the internet who will help you with that. Everyone from Mark Manson to Anthony Robbins to probably your own faith-based traditions. But I'm going to talk you through some of my favorite ways to do that today. And of course, as always, I truly recommend that if you find any of this difficult, you find yourself a really good therapist to help you with it. So the first thing to do is to identify our limiting beliefs. And I have kind of 4 ways that I use to help me to identify them. My first is to look at my bad habits. For instance, if I'm not eating right or I'm not exercising, then the limiting belief beneath that might be that I feel I'm not worthy of being put first, or that I don't think that my health is worth taking care of. It's all about a lack of self-esteem. If I think that maybe I don't need to go to bed on time and I'm always up late and then I can't get up for work in the morning, maybe the limiting belief is that I'll never get ahead in this company, and so why do I even bother? There are all kinds of limiting beliefs that can be underlying our bad habits, and it's worth journaling around the habits that we identify that are not really serving us very well. Another technique I use is to look at the ways I self-sabotage, and I call these my I don't know why I do this moments. So for example, I might want to apply for a new job, but I just can't seem to get myself to update my CV or send it out. Why do I do this to myself, I might ask? Why indeed? And maybe underlying that is the belief that I might be too old to look for a new career, or that perhaps I'm not good enough for the job that I'm applying for. Again, doing a little journal work around this will help you identify what exactly is the limiting belief behind the "why do I do this?" question. The third thing I like to do is to look at the areas of my life where I'm not unhappy and I'm not extremely ecstatic. I'm just sort of and I'm comfortable. But I'm in danger of slipping into lethargy and laziness and what we might call languishing. And in those areas, if I look at it, maybe there's a limiting belief that's keeping me a little bit too comfy there. So again, maybe I want to find a new job, but I'm comfortable where I am, and I've gotten used to the people I work with. The limiting belief might be the ones I said before. Whatever it is, once I identify it, I can start to work to transform it. A little bit more easy are the situations where I feel really frustrated and I feel stuck. They may also be situations where I've been stuck for some time, and under that might be some really juicy limiting beliefs, or they might be layered on top of one another. When we get stuck, it's kind of likely that there are limiting beliefs there. And so again, if we can identify them, then we can work to change them. Whether we work with a therapist or not, once we identify our beliefs that limit us, then we can work to transform them. And the transformation process really is one of going from believing a limiting belief to choosing an enabling belief to replace it. But it is not a quick fix, and sometimes we've held these beliefs for 10, 20, maybe 50 years. And so we need to work to unlock what's really underneath all of these situations and start to lessen its hold on us. And like all healing, it is a process. As I said, there are many systems to work with limiting beliefs, and I'm going to share with you what I think works for me. The first thing I do is I name the belief. I write it down and I journal it. When I can name something that's been hiding in the shadows, I take away some of its power over me. The next thing I do is test the evidence around the belief. Maybe I believe that I'm too old to get a job because one of my parents was laid off at the age of 40 and never worked again. And maybe I'm 40 years old and I think, well, that's it, my career's over, I'm done. But if I test the evidence, I might see that it wasn't actually the age of my parent that caused them to be laid off and not to work again, but maybe they had a drug or alcohol addiction. Maybe I look out and I see that colleagues and peers who are the same age as me are frequently changing jobs and being successful. Maybe I see that people who are even older than I am have made new careers out of their lives. So as I look outward and test the evidence, I can begin to see that maybe my belief is not based on anything other than a thought. And a thought doesn't make it true. The third thing I like to do is to play devil's advocate. And this is a step towards choosing the opposite belief. So I start by saying, well, what if the opposite is true? What if I'm not too old to get a new job? All kinds of possibilities begin to open up for me if I'm not. The next thing I like to do is to embody those possibilities. I like to visualize what it would be like if the opposite was true, how it would feel, what it would smell like, taste like, to have all of my senses engaged, and to really embody that experience so that I can begin to believe that the opposite just might be true. My next technique is a little bit painful, but it is getting real with what the payoff is in being stuck. And anytime we are stuck in our lives, there is a payoff that we receive. It might not seem obvious. If I believe that I don't have the money to get a PhD, then I avoid the discomfort of going back to university and having to struggle to keep up with maybe younger students, to struggle to learn again, to maybe fail at something that is possibly a dream. And so if I can allow myself that limiting belief, I get the payoff of avoiding possibility of failure. Of course, the cost of staying stuck is that we live a life that is quite possibly not as purpose-filled or fulfilling as it could have been. Just as I'm willing to ask what if the opposite is true, I also want to try that out. If I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I've been a stay-at-home mom for 20 years, maybe I believe that nobody's going to value whatever skills I might have, and I won't be able to get a job. But what if the opposite is true? What if I have highly valuable skills? So I like to try it out in a really low-risk situation. Maybe I volunteer to teach time management to the youth at a halfway house. And I can see that my skills are valuable. Once I see that actually I was wrong and I am valuable, I have things to offer, I can begin to see ways that I can transfer those skills in all kinds of possibilities. My next technique for changing limiting beliefs to enabling beliefs is just to be careful of where we spend our energy. If we are trying to avoid making changes in our own lives, if we don't want to feel the pain that personal growth and development brings, then we might get a little bit too attached to other things that can become addictions. And so I like to keep an eye on where I spend my time, my resources, and my mental and emotional energy. I need to make sure that I am being honest and sitting with my discomfort, because only by sitting in the pain will I be able to transform it. As long as I'm running away into addictions, I'm avoiding the problem. And my last technique that I use is to watch my thoughts. We think somewhere between 12 to 50,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of those thoughts are negative. So we are just letting our limiting beliefs run amok in our heads. Why do we have these limiting beliefs and negative thoughts? Because we are constantly trapped in ruminating about the past or anticipating the future. And our limiting beliefs are churning around and stressing us out. So the way to handle some of this monkey mind, as the Buddhists call it, is to get present. The way that I like to get present is through mindfulness and meditation. Both mindfulness and meditation allow me to observe my thoughts as they arise without attaching any judgment to it and letting them go. If I choose, I can then later pick up that thought and use a process that the yogis call pratipaksha bhavana, which is the replacement of the negative thought with the positive. So I can replace my limiting belief with enabling beliefs. And again, we would go through the whole process that I've just talked through. It's not an overnight fix. Another thing that meditation and mindfulness does, of course, is bring us very present. And when we're present, we're not able to be thinking about the past or thinking about the future. And all of that thought wave begins to slow down. And we stop thinking quite so much. Identifying and changing our limiting beliefs can be a time-consuming process. It can take many, many years to work through things. We might smash one limiting belief and make 2 steps forward, and then discover that there's another one beneath it and take 1 step back. Or we might take 10 steps forward and find a limiting belief further down the road. But as we start to get rid of these limiting beliefs and transform them into enabling beliefs, we are more likely to be able to align with the values that we truly hold and to take action and live a purposeful life that is full of meaning. If you like this video, then give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, click subscribe. If you do hit the bell icon, you'll be notified when I upload again. For what are you most grateful today?